This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Let's face it, life after service ain't always easy. Far too many veterans continue to struggle in silence. But you don't have to fight this battle alone, because we are here to help. This ain't no group therapy. It's the after party to the battle. Full speed ahead, after battle. Real talk, real stories, no BS.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on another episode of Full Speed Ahead After Battle. That means one thing. It is Monday night, 7 p.m. Central here in North Texas. It's 7 o'clock, but it looks more like midnight with that time change that we had this past weekend. So trying to get over that, losing that or gaining that sleep, but it doesn't feel like it sometimes, right? Before we get started, as always, make sure you follow us along on MB Radio, MBR Talk, Military Broadcast Radio. We are worldwide. You can find us on Roku, Fire TV, Instagram, Facebook, X, all the other good stuff. YouTube. You can find me on YouTube at Full Speed Ahead After Battle. You can find me on Instagram at Josh McCabe817. You can find me on Facebook, Full Speed Ahead After Battle, all that good stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. As I always say, not to make me rich and famous, make sure we get this message out here. Because what this show is about, as I tell you every single week, and I'm going to keep telling you until we don't have to have this discussion anymore, we are here to help our veterans, especially around that transition from the service to the civilian world. That is one of the biggest struggles, one of the leading causes in veteran suicide and mental health awareness. As we always say, 22 veterans commit suicide every day. That means within the hour of this show, it is highly likely that one veteran commits suicide in the next 60 minutes. Once you factor in the first responders and the general civilian public, that number climbs to almost 30 a day, somewhere around there. So that is not just a veteran topic, but it is a worldwide topic that there's a stigma around that people don't like to talk about, that people think it's a touchy subject, and it is. But because it keeps happening, it's something that we do need to discuss. And we're going to get into that a little bit today. But before we get started, let's wrap up the last week. So here we are, November 3rd. We're after Halloween. That was over Friday night. So that means only one thing, that Walmart is starting to put out their Valentine's candy already. So get ready for that candy. March, St. Patty's Day will be right around the corner. It seems like they're putting out stuff earlier and earlier every single year. But this is the start of, I'm going to call it Veterans Month. I know we only get a day or maybe a week, but we're going to go ahead and call November Veterans Month. Veterans Day is coming up November 11th. That'll be next Tuesday. I know there's a lot of different great events going on around the country. So if you can, please join one of them somewhere. There's a lot of good stuff. I know this past week I had the honor of speaking at the inaugural Justin, Texas Veterans Day celebration. They did a walk from City Hall to Bishop Park. It was about 1.2 miles, and it was in the rain. I haven't spent that much time in the rain since my last gun mount watch in the Gulf of Oman. So it was good, though. The community turned out. We had quite a large showing. Even the mayor of Justin was out there walking in the rain in his suit and coat and cowboy hat. Great turnout. I had the pleasure of speaking next to Don Graves and several other veterans. If you don't know Don Graves, he is a World War II veteran. He was on Mount Suribachi in Iwo Jima. He likes to claim at 5'8" or somewhere around there, he is carrying a 70-pound flamethrower across Iwo Jima with a bunch of his other guys. One of very few that made it out. He is, I believe he just had a birthday, turned 100. And he's still getting around, still talking, very passionate. Every time I hear his story, it definitely instills a new sense of pride and patriotism in myself, along with everyone else that hears his stories. But there's so many great veterans out there that past weekend. This weekend, Hazlet, Texas, VFW Post 10374 on Avondale Heights, 287, just outside of Hazlet. We're holding the inaugural Hazlet Day Veterans Day celebration. We got mayor speeches coming from Mayor Gary Holsey, our post commander. We have Tank Gunner coming out. He was a Vietnam veteran. Wrote a couple of award commendations for, I believe, Medal of Honor recipient. He's an author of several different books, so he'll be out there. We got a lot of great veteran groups coming out for this. The Irreverent Warriors of DFW will be out there. They are another veteran group that is centered around veteran suicide and mental health awareness. So they'll be out there supporting us, as well as the VA Veteran Suicide Coordinator. She'll be out there. A VA advocate for benefits will be out there as well. We've got a food truck, donuts, all kinds of other stuff. So make sure y'all come out to Hazlet. Ceremony starts at 10:30 a.m. At the Veterans Garden there in the Hazlet Park. And if you don't know where that is, it's just off of 156, not too far from 35. So make sure you show up for that. In the last week, I also, another VFW comrade sent me an email and made me aware of the school Light University. They do a scholarship for people that if you submit it, it's a certificate for first responders and military coaching. And so I completed 2 certificates, the basic and the advanced, in first responder and military coaching around mental health and suicide. So I'm hoping to be putting those to work within the VFW, or just, any veteran that needs the help. I know there are a lot out there. So that about wraps it up. No, it is 7:00. We got until 8. I'm not trying to rush my guest off here by any means, because he's got so much great information. But the Cowboys are playing tonight. They're playing the Cardinals. I'm hoping that they can pull out a win this week. We desperately need it. We'll see how it goes. So I don't know. But my guest tonight is William Villafranco. He comes from New York. So he's one of those Yankees up there. We won't hold that up against him. He does a lot in the community. He is a speaker. He does a lot of nonprofit help. He works with the Tolman Foundation. He comes from Wall Street, but he has a lot of experiences when it comes to personal experiences. And so we'll get a little bit more into that and some discussions that we had prior about having him come on. But without further ado, I'm going to set us up. We're going to have our interview of the week with William Villafranco.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
William, welcome to Full Speed Ahead. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. How are you, Josh?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good these days. I'm doing pretty good. Unlike you had quite a busy day. Mine wasn't too bad, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, but I'll tell you that daylight saving time is getting all of us.
Oh, I know. It looks like it's midnight out there already, so every year it doesn't change, right?
No, it doesn't. It certainly doesn't. It's really, really terrific to be on your show, and thank you for the
Good.
opportunity.
Absolutely. So, before we get started and I give you a chance to introduce yourself, I just want to make, everybody aware. We had a conversation before we came on, and you were concerned not being a veteran. And I think that's, perfectly okay because, when we start talking about not just veteran suicide, but suicide and mental health in general, I think it takes a village, to help this discussion. And you have a lot of, personal insight around that. And so that's why I asked you on, to share your information because, we can get help from anywhere and it just does not have to be just the veterans.
So true.
You know,
So true.
absolutely. So thank you for coming on. So, at this point, I'll give it over to you. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell the viewers, who is Bill?
Sure. So once again, it's really great to be here. So I am Bill Villafranco, and I am a proud father of 5 children. Those 5 children span in ages of 33 down to 5. I have 4 older daughters and 1 younger son. The youngest is my son. But my journey in life was not a straight line. Like all of us, we go through periods in our life where we question, should we even be here any longer? And I had a few of those questions along my journey. Some of my daughters are listening in and they'll probably hear some of this for the first time, but there's nothing better than being able to share a story, perhaps giving someone insight that may be able to help them. But my journey pretty much started when my second child died. I had a little boy who died at birth, and I was all of 28 years old. And imagine going to the hospital thinking that you would have a little baby to bring home, only to be told by the doctor during the delivery that he passed. And again, 28 years old, beautiful daughter at home, wanted to bring my son home, but unfortunately it didn't work out that way. But what I did was what everybody tells you not to do. And I just pushed it down, and pushed it down. I put my head down and said, I'm going to make my life and people proud of my life. So no looking back, let's look forward. And for the grace of God, I have 3 more beautiful daughters, and all doing very well in life now. But again, I pushed that down for nearly 15 years. And before I realized that I lost my son, and I mean realized because I didn't want to think about it, I didn't want to even let people know that this happened to us, I became very, very depressed and didn't know where to turn. Luckily for me, I had met a monk in Bangkok, Thailand, where I started a school with a friend to help eradicate human trafficking. And this monk tried many years to get me to meditate. And I just resisted. I didn't understand it. I didn't want to sit in my silence. I was too afraid of what it would bring up, until one day he broke me down and he taught me how to meditate. And that was the beginning of what I would call my acceptance of my son's passing, and for believing in myself for who I really was and not who I wanted people to think I was. And when you can get past that, when you can let people see the true inner self, you can overcome anything. And after years of learning how to meditate and learning how to look inside myself and to observe my thoughts and to observe my feelings, did I go through another very difficult episode in my life where one of my daughters started experimenting with drugs and eventually became addicted to heroin. And at that moment, there was no helping until she wanted the help. And again, veterans, it's very similar. They want the help. They don't know how to ask for the help. And at some points, they might even be ashamed to ask for help. Again, these are people that held up our flag in the worst battles, ones in which many of us could not even envision. And yet, they're sitting silently because they don't know who to ask and how to ask and where to ask. And this is exactly what happened to my daughter. But standing by her, like we stand by veterans through their most vulnerable times, she finally opened up. she finally got the help she needed. And she is almost 9 years in recovery right now. But it took the other 3 girls and their support for her to see that life was worth living and the fight was worth fighting. And she did. And for the grace of God, she's here now with 2 beautiful children and really the world in front of her. But it all came back to this meditation technique that I was taught, because in her worst periods, when I thought we would lose her, I had to train my mind to not hold on to that thought, to train my mind to look beyond it. And as my monk meditation teacher tells me all the time, the key to that is to change the object we're thinking about. Change that thought. And the best way to do it, and we all do it, is when you hear someone in our panic say, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. And all they're telling you is stop thinking about what you're thinking and think about your breath for a moment. And then when we do that, our mind shifts. And if our mind can shift, we can really look at what we were thinking about subjectively, looking down inside of it. And we can look at, is it our perception or is it our memory? If it's our memory, we know it's not real. We know that it happened already. If it's our perception, it's what we think may happen to us. And it hasn't happened to us. So why do we hold on to these things? And these basic principles have brought me through many hardships in my life and have brought me to a place of peace. And you can only imagine how I would look at my cell phone in the middle of the night, wondering if it was someone calling me to tell me my daughter was no longer here. And the PTSD that I went through was very difficult. And that's very similar to the PTSD that veterans go through and others go through that have tragedies in their life. So to be able to tame your mind, to be able to train your mind in a way that is not holding on to the past, but looking forward, is how I've overcome many things in my life, even to this day. This day, I think all the time, when I'm in a time of crisis, why? What am I doing? Why am I there? What can I do to change? And it only takes a while before you can change the object. And in my work now with the Toolman Foundation, an organization that was funded in 2010 after the passing of one of my dear, dear friends, we're working with many, many different organizations that work with people in crisis. And I'll never forget being in LA one day with a gentleman. His name is Nate Boyer. And Nate was a walk-on football player, I think at the University of Texas, I believe. And probably feel bad if I got it wrong. But he walked on as a long snapper. And this was after a few tours of duty. And he walked on. I think he's the oldest walk-on to ever play college football. And not only did he play for the University of Texas, but he went on to play for the Seattle Seahawks. And I think they won a Super Bowl. And I was meeting with him in LA, and he was telling me the story about when he came home as a decorated officer. And all of a sudden, he looked at himself and said, who am I? Why am I still here? I'm nobody. And I looked at him and said, Nate, how can that possibly be? Look at all these amazing accomplishments. And he said, no, Bill, I don't know who I am anymore. And he started an organization called MVP, Most Valuable Player, with the NFL. And what they do is around the country, retired NFL players go to the gym with veterans and they work out together for half an hour. And then for the last half hour, they have circle time together where they're all in the same boat. These are MVP football players that accomplished many great things. And after their career, what do they have? Many of them have very little. And they end up on the wrong side and not knowing what to do. So an organization and a show like this is so critical for people to understand there are plenty of people that are willing to be community, to lend a helping hand, to listen, to walk through that journey with them. And I just pray that more of them will. And the statistic that you gave us in the beginning of this show greatly, greatly declines because every life is worth saving.
Yeah. Absolutely. You hit on so many great topics right there. We can go in so many different ways, but one I definitely want to touch on is the meditation and the MVP, and the veterans today, they don't want to go to the VA because the VA is just going to pump them full of so many drugs and medication that they're not going to know who they are anymore. And then you get into that discussion of, I don't know who I am. I don't know what I'm doing. And you just walk around like a zombie. So, thank you for sharing that information to show that there are other avenues out there for, anybody, not just veterans, to help with that inner peace, and find who you are, whether it's meditation or, veterans enjoy the working out and everything. So, that's some really strong stuff. So let's go back a little bit and talk on a subject that you touched about. And I think this directly relates to veterans. And that is, the addiction and the drug abuse. And so when veterans leave the military, like they said, they don't know who they are anymore. And so they try to find who they are. And a lot of times they turn to the alcohol, they turn to drugs, they turn to, not some good stuff. So let me ask you this: in your experience as a father, dealing with a child that struggled with addiction, can you share a little bit more about that information, and then go into those signs that people need to look out for when they see their family members struggling with that, so that they know when to step in and ask, are you okay? Do you need help? Because just like you said, nobody wants to ask for help. It's almost like you have to spoon feed it, because people have that stigma of, if I ask for help, I'm a lesser man, or I'm not that good, And so would you mind going into a little bit more about that?
Sure. I'd love to. There's two things about addiction. One is, what is addiction? And as my meditation teacher teaches me, it's nothing than a strong attachment to the memory of what that drug or alcohol did for your mind. And many times it's a peaceful mind. It's a mind that you don't have to think, you don't have to face reality. So that's what you're holding on to. He always says to me, if you put that needle on the table, or you put that gun there, the only way that gun will fire is if your brain tells it to. Otherwise, it could sit there for hundreds of years. The same thing with a needle, the same thing with a bottle. So again, it's the strong attachment, the very strong attachment to the thought, the memory of what it does to you. And we all know it only lasts for a little while, and then you have to urge and get it again. So if we can identify with that thought, and we could work hard at not picking up that bottle or not picking up that needle, slowly your mind will realize how healthy it really is. And in the case of my daughter, she didn't want the help. No matter what we did, no matter how I tried, a lot of her addiction was because she was ashamed of where she was, and didn't want to come out and say, I need the help. I don't want to be here. So what do most addicts do, or alcoholics? I'll get clean, I'll get clean, I'll get clean. And they try with all their heart, do they try? But it's such a strong attachment that it's almost impossible. So they end up going back, not because they want to, but because they're too proud. They're too proud to come out and say, I need the help. And when did she overcome her addiction? When she was ready for it. When she said, thank you for standing by me. Please help me. My third daughter has also an addiction to alcohol. And she was the same way. She's so strong, but she couldn't figure out how to break it. And she felt ashamed to come out about it. And for me, I was ashamed. I was supposed to be their father, their stronghold, the one that didn't have a problem. And I reverted to alcohol, and although not hard drugs, but enough drugs to make my mind not see things clearly, and not for some very supportive people in my life, including my current wife. I don't think I've ever could have gotten through it. So it's the constant, not in their face, but the constant reminder that you love them, you care for them, that you're there for them. And darn it, when they call, you better pick up, because there's nothing more that you can do to hurt someone than not pick up the phone when they call for help. And you know what? All you need to do is listen. Listening is really what they want. They want that person to be there for them and love them for who they are at that moment.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and like I said, so many veterans struggle with that. I think it's because, for so long serving in the service, you're doing so many things, whether you're fighting in a battle, whether you don't even go overseas, right? You still serve in your country. And there's that stigma in the military. If you ask for help, then you're not going to be promoted. You're not going to, get that role that you want. And the military community, they look down upon that type of stuff. And then so when you get out and you're on your own now, trying to find your way, you still carry that with you of, if I don't ask for help, I'm a lesser person. I'm a lesser man. I'm a nobody. And so veterans don't want to ask for help. And that's, I think, is a lot of our struggle. And, so sharing with family members, and this is why I say it's not just about the veterans. We have to educate the family as well, the family and the friends, to know what to look for, to be able to reach out and ask them, are you okay? I see you spiraling. Let's talk about this and let's do something about it. So, thank you so much about, being vulnerable about you and your family. And I hopefully that shows people it's okay to reach out and ask for help. So,
yeah, Josh, isn't it true that in the military, you're taught that the team wins, right? Mm-hmm. The division wins, yep. Not one person wins. Yep. And isn't it ironic when you come out and you're facing addiction, you don't want the team around you. You mm-hmm. want to be by yourself. You want to be able to conquer this yourself. And the truth is, nothing in life can be conquered without the support around you to help you conquer it. And, I call them, daughter 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 2 and number 4 were so supportive of number 1 and number 3. And number 3 has been supportive of number 3. And 3 was so, like, they all support each other. And we all need to support each other, because life is not a straight line up, right? Yep. It's not a vertical line by any stretch of the imagination. There are lots of bumps in the road that we all need. We all need someone, and we just have to have the courage to ask for it. And thank God I asked for it, because I could not be happier and prouder of all of my kids.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're 100% right. It seems like when we leave the service, we forget about that teamwork and what made us, successful in the military. It's not just me. You can't fight the battle alone. You're not going to win the war alone. You've got to count on your battle buddies, your family, your friends, whoever it is. So, yeah, you're absolutely right on that. So, with that, we're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more, I think, about the Tolman Foundation and especially around the work that you do, or that the foundation does around mental health in children and women. So, we're going to have a quick video, and we'll be right back.
Whatever happened to the brave young soldier? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he never once cried, lying with his brothers there by his side. At 19 years old, he was sent off to war. not really sure what he was fighting for. So he fights for what's behind him and his brothers beside him. Together they'll weather the storm. 9 long months later and he's still alive. Fought several long battles you shouldn't have survived. Then the IED exploded as the ambush unfolded. He laid there bleeding as his brothers all died. Whatever happened to the brave young soldier? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he never once cried, lying with his brothers there by his side. Reinforcements arrived in the nick of time. Old Doc had found him and called in the nightline. He awoke in the hospital. They patched all the holes. Too bad they couldn't fix the ones in his soul. And 16 years later he locks all the doors, unable to find anything worth living for. His family has left him. He feels society rejects him. With a bottle and a pistol, he falls to the floor. Whatever happened to the brave old veteran? He was a good friend of mine. They say as he died, he sat there and cried, with only his memories sitting there by his side. Brothers and sisters, we can't lose this war. Have we forgotten what the hell we fought for? Pick up the phone, don't knock on the door. 22 too many, we must carry on, fighting these battles until they are won. We know that we walk on the edge of a knife, but one simple call can save a life. Whatever happened to the brave old veteran? He was a good friend of mine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on Full Speed Ahead After Battle after that quick break. If you're just now tuning in, make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that good information. And we are with William Villafranco this evening. He's a philanthropist, advocate, speaker, father, who just shared his information about himself and his daughters, his family, addiction, loss, recovery, all that good stuff. And so, let's get into something I think that is very important to you, and that is the Virginia B. Tolman Foundation. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what that foundation is and what y'all do?
No, I would love to. Thank you, Josh. So Virginia Toolman was a dear, dear friend of mine. She sold her business in 1995 for a large sum of money. She had no children, and her husband had passed away only 9 years into their marriage. So we were talking, she was very young. And when she sold her business, she was looking for a money manager to work with. And that's part of what I do is I manage money. And she selected me. And her idea was that she was going to really introduce me to many of the philanthropic organizations she worked with, but more importantly, she was going to teach me the way in which she gave money away. And that meant that she was going to teach me how to look inside a person to see their values, to see if their values matched her values. Because what she believed in is someone's values are critical to giving them money. the mission could be amazing, but if the values don't align, you don't have a grant that she would want to give money to. Not that it's not worthy, just not for her. So we traveled around the world until she died in 2010. And she left a very simple estate plan, in essence, leaving quite a large sum of money to Georgetown University Medical Center, a gift to the Dayton Community Foundation, where she lived for a better part of her life after growing up in St. Louis, and then the remainder to her private foundation. But the interesting thing, Josh, is she left us no direction. So 3 people to give away her money. And I'll never forget her sitting me down saying, Bill, you know me. What good is my money if I tell you what to do with it and manage it from the grave? So I want you to go where the most need is. So we spent 2 years interviewing people, interviewing cousins, interviewing business associates and friends. And we determined that she was most interested in women in the arts, underprivileged children and youth, along with their families. And the third pillar is medical research, which is where she made her fortune. So we dove into that. And I'm so proud to let you know that as of this year, we've now given away our $100 millionth grant. And it's an amazing accomplishment that 3 people had set out in 2010, only 15 years ago. And we were able to give money away to charities that we believe meant a lot to her. And she was a nurse, and mental health to her was critical, absolutely critical. Maybe part of it was because her grandmother moved into Virginia's home when Virginia was only 8 years old when her grandfather suddenly died. So the traditions and the values that her grandmother brought to the house were brought into Virginia's life and carried through her life. So we are supporting many different institutions around the world now, many dealing in the mental health aspect of life. I mentioned a school in Bangkok, Thailand. We started to help eradicate human trafficking. We're in our 20th year, and we've now helped 500 young girls. And they become nursing students after 1 year of education. But the trick of it is that they are guaranteed a job when they graduate. So these girls are doing amazing work in Thailand. And every year I go and I speak to the girls and I say to them, there could be the richest person on the sidewalk in the middle of a heart attack and they need help. Do you think that they're going to interview you to see if you're qualified to help them? No. They're going to ask you to do anything you can to save their life. And that's the way life is. You know, people jump way too fast. We're not getting to know the people that are asking for the help or asking just to be friends. You know, there's another organization I'm executive director called My Face in New York City. And we work with individuals with cranial facial differences, either born or acquired during their lifetime, and many Army veterans. And, you know, here we go. We have a scar on our face and people want to identify us as that. And as someone said to me last week in New York when I was with this young woman from Michigan who tragically was shot by her stepfather, who then committed suicide, and then he killed her mother. And she had lost her eye with a bullet going through her eye. And she said to me, you know, Bill, it's not an accident. It's an incident. An incident. And I thought, wow, that's really remarkable. A 25-year-old girl. So I love to get to meet people. I love to make a difference. I love to be part of the lives of the people that we help. And Virginia gave me that gift. And it's been an unbelievable gift for me.
Wow. You know, you mentioned the My Face and helping veterans with that. Do you have any information or share some stories on, you know, I know some guys accept the wounds, right? And they wear that as a badge of honor. Some people are a little bit self-conscious and they don't want to be looked at bad guy, right? So what are some of the stories of like how were their lives turned around by my face?
So let me start with one that actually
Mhm.
happened at birth. A young man who had a cleft lip and a major cleft lip and palate. And as he got older, he had 20 some odd surgeries. And all
Wow.
he wanted to do was serve our country in the Navy. And
Mhm.
he applied and he got rejected. He got rejected because he was told that his deficiency, his syndromes
Mhm.
would cause him not to be able to protect others. This is his mouth.
Right.
And through the work of some doctors, he was accepted and he served 4 years. And he
Wow.
is the proudest young man ever. And he's a huge advocate now for the military. But now we're seeing situations where people are coming home from the war with all kinds of facial scars, all kinds of things that they have to overcome. And we work with them to create community, right? We
Mhm.
believe in the power of the shared story, the ability to be together, the ability to learn from each other. So we host events all around the country, events where people can come to. They can be with others so that they can feel, look, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one. There are people that relate to me and I can relate to them.
Mhm.
I don't have a facial difference. And when people
Right.
ask me, how can you be running an organization that's dealing with individuals with cranial facial differences? And I say to
Mhm.
them, my life is tragic too. I've gone through
Yeah.
lots of things and I know it's not the same, but it is similar feelings of isolation and loneliness and how can I go forward? So we work very hard to try to create community for people, and we invite everyone in. There's Zoom calls that we have across the country where people could come in for support, not therapy, where they can just
Mhm.
talk in the comfort of their own home, where there's no judgments. So it's what we're doing, and we really love it. And then there's the more severe cases. We just had a fireman who came to us maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but 5 years earlier, he was fighting a fire and the roof came and collapsed and it burned his face. And he had a facial reconstruction, meaning he has another person's face replaced his face. And
Mhm.
Patrick Hardison, is an amazing man from Tennessee. He just wrote his book and he talked about that moment where he wanted to end his life. And for some reason, he talked himself out of it. And now he has grandchildren. And although it's difficult for him at times, he's thriving. He's thriving
Yeah.
because he found a community of people. So that's what we do at My Face.
Wow. And I'm sure what you do there directly relates to helping those veterans with not committing the suicide, right? Because they have that place to go to. They have somebody that's going to help them, whether it's with the scars or the abnormalities or whatever it be, but also giving that place of camaraderie and togetherness. And so, thank you so much for doing things like that for the veterans. If there is a veteran out there that is looking for that type of service, is there a way to contact MyFace to see if they qualify or anything like that?
Everybody qualifies. We don't turn
Okay.
anyone away. So it's
Awesome.
myface.org. You can find me
Okay.
on LinkedIn at William Villafranco. You can inbox me. Whatever I could do to help, I'm happy to do it. And we're expanding across the country. We're opening offices across the country where people have an opportunity to really come together as one. We also
Okay.
at the Toolman Foundation fund an organization called PAPA in New York City, and it's for
Mhm.
those policemen who are thinking of taking their lives or are addicted to alcohol. And what the New York City Police Department allows this group to do is that person has their shield and gun taken away for 6
Mhm.
weeks while they get treatment. And as long as they pass the treatment, which includes meditation, which includes yoga and other things along those lines, they're given back their shield and their gun. And then there's the support
Wow.
group that follows everyone. And it's an incredible organization. I just learned of one in the New York City Fire Department. Same thing. So if you're a veteran and now you're involved in the police department, or you're involved in the fire department, or any first responders, there are organizations that are helping you if you're willing to seek them out.
Wow. That's amazing that y'all are giving opportunities to our first responders to get back into service, to seek that help, and then get back to work, to, you know, keep going with their passion and their mission in life. So that is amazing. We're going to take another quick break. We're going to show another video, and then when we come back, you know, something that kind of stuck out to me, Bill, I want to talk about this mirror test. How to stop running and start seeing yourself clearly, because I think, you know, that's something strong that we all need to look at and take a deeper look inside of ourselves to be able to keep moving forward. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick video. All right, for those of y'all just now tuning in, this is Full Speed Ahead After Battle. That was Die Tired with their song Need to Feed. They are a partner with Military Broadcast Radio. We are doing a collaboration shirt that you can find on our website, mbradio.us. All funds are helping veteran programs across the nation and across the world. Military Broadcast Radio is dedicated to supporting the mental health and rehabilitation of the military community. If you're looking to be a sponsor, donor, or you just want to be a veteran with a show that you have a topic that you want to discuss, reach out to myself or mbradio.us, and we will be happy to help you. William, when we left, we were talking about your Tolman Foundation and My Face and all the great work that you do. But something else that stuck out to me when I was going through your bio and reading your information is the mirror test and how we need to take a deeper look on the inside of who we are. And I think that's true for every veteran transitioning from the service because they're leaving everything that they've ever known behind, right? We come from a world of, we're told to when to wake up, when to eat, what to wear, what to do for a job for 24 hours a day for however many years. And when you go into the civilian world and now you're making all those decisions on your own, that's where we start to get lost. We start to lose our mission, our purpose, we lose ourselves. And that's where we start to see our veterans doing that spiral into drugs or alcohol or a number of other bad things. So let's talk about taking that look in to ourselves to find out who we are and how we can keep going.
Yeah, Josh, wow. That's interesting that the way you phrase that question is exactly how we talk to the young adults at My Face. Same thing. For years and years and years, they were told when they were going to have surgery, what they needed to do to get ready for that surgery, when their next surgery was, what their outcome was going to be for 24 years. And all of a sudden, they have a voice and they want their voice heard, and they should have their voice heard. But have they really looked inside of themselves? And I ask those that call me all the time, have you really looked inside yourself? It's the hardest thing to do. And the mirror test is the one that I like to ask them about. And that is, can you truly look at your eyes in the mirror and see who you really are, who you really want to be, and what you need to get there? And just the other night, I'm a big yogi, and just the other night I did a restorative meditation class, which is a very, very easy class for someone who's a yogi. It's 4 positions and you're on your back the whole time. But the idea is to open up your heart to something maybe that you've been hiding, something you don't want people to see, or you yourself don't want to see. And my mother died in 2020 very suddenly from a pulmonary embolism. And the day she died, that evening, my father moved into our house and lives with us to this day. He's almost 90. And do you know, Josh, just like my son, I should have learned better, but I never dealt with my mother's passing. And just the other night, in one of the restorative positions, it opened up. My emotions just came flying out. I was crying. And normally when we cry, we don't look in the mirror because we don't want to see that we're crying, because that would indicate pain or weakness. But I looked in the mirror and I saw the pain that I was in, and I saw how weak I've been in not dealing with it. And I'm back on my track with my meditation teacher more than ever to try to really get to understand why and who I am today, because we change. As life changes, we change. And this is a learning. Our whole entire life is about learning. And the more we can learn about ourselves in these different phases, the more we can be there for others. I actually have a tattoo on my heart, and it says forgiveness, but it says it backwards. So when I look in the mirror, I see the word and I remind myself that no matter what during that day, there was someone who I should have forgiven, including myself. And it's hard. But that mirror is the greatest tool for us to be able to use with courage, kindness toward ourselves, and understanding toward ourselves, and the ability to ask ourselves, who am I really? Who am I really? And I love the test, and it's not easy. And there's some days I won't look in the mirror because I don't know who I am. And I'm going to face that. But we have to, and we do, and we will.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that every veteran needs to do coming out, is taking that deeper look, finding that a way to meditate or look deeper into themselves to find out who they are, because that's what's going to keep them moving forward. We're wrapping up the end of the show. We're coming to 8:00. William, I thank you so much. I know we kind of struggled in the beginning to get each other hooked up. We had a lot of things going on. So I appreciate you sticking through. I want to give you just a couple of minutes to speak your heart, speak your mind to the world, whoever is listening, that last second thought that you want to give out there.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity. You don't know me, you may not ever meet me, but you gave me an opportunity to speak from my heart and to share my story. And I'm very grateful for that. I'm very, very grateful. And I would also like to thank all the veterans for all you've done for me, for others, for our country. We wouldn't have the greatest country in the world if it weren't for you. And I hope that you can take that and you can really put that inside your heart and know that I'm very appreciative, and so are millions upon millions upon millions of others. So thank you.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, and you are always welcome back on the show anytime.
Thank
I
you,
think
Josh.
you have an amazing message, and I hope you keep sharing that with everybody. So thank you again, and I hope you have a great time.
Thank you, Josh. I'll see you again. I'll be listening.
All right. Thanks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was William Villafranco here on Full Speed Ahead After Battle. When I came across his bio, it kind of said, he comes from Wall Street. He's into money management, all kinds of different things. And as I started reading more and more, I could see that he had a very vulnerable story, a very passionate story. And, after I talked to him before coming on the show, I knew that I wanted to have him on here because I think he had a great message, and I think he just shown that. The work that he does with the Tolman Foundation, myface.org, he's given first responders and veterans, that chance to get back out there, be themselves, be happy with the people that they see in the mirror. So if you get an opportunity, go check out the Tolman Foundation, check out MyFace. If you're a veteran, first responder, anybody that is needing some help with facial reconstruction, anything like that, check them out. As he said, nobody gets turned away. So great story here tonight. Next week we have Country Mike. He is not a veteran. He's a musician, country music artist. However, all the shows that he does is to support veteran organizations, raises fundraisers for veterans, things like that. So that is some great guests coming up next week. Again, it's Veterans Day. It's Veterans Day coming up, Veterans Month. I think, a lot of different veteran events are coming out there. Make sure you check one out in your local area. Again, this is MB Radio, the military broadcast radio, where we're giving veterans a voice. This is Full Speed Ahead After Battle, where we help veterans with that transition, mental health awareness, veteran suicide awareness, trying to break that stigma. And along with that, I am now setting up and we'll be hosting a veteran suicide awareness and mental health event next April at the local VFW here in Fort Worth. More information to come. But if you're looking to be a sponsor or a provider or entertainer, whatever for that event, please reach out to me at Full Speed Ahead After Battle, or you can reach out to me at Josh McCabe on Facebook. But be sure, wherever it is, follow us, subscribe, like us on MB Radio, Full Speed Ahead, all the different places. Again, Josh McCabe, Full Speed Ahead. And as I tell you every single week, you're not in this alone. Reach out for help. Everybody's here. We're here to help. Make sure you keep going. Tune in next week, Full Speed Ahead After Battle. We'll talk again, and we'll bring more information to those veterans in need. Have a great evening, y'all.
Justice Jackson, they captured Herman Goring alive. Tell me about him.
He's the face of the Nazis. I'm gonna put Goering on trial.
Ever escapes a hangman's noose.
Very sure of yourself.
No man has ever beaten me.
Goering has to fall.
You don't just have to win, you have to be flawless.
You're walking into a trap.
Knowing what we know now, would you still follow Adolf Hitler?
Nuremberg, rated PG-13, starts Friday only in theaters.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.